Hey there, I'm Bonnie from Bamboo Furniture Designs. Welcome back to my channel. The cabinet I'm working on today started like this, but then I took it apart and the base ended up like this. So this time I'm going to show you how I created this absolute beauty here using one of Mint by Michelle's new release decoupage paper called Freckles. I just love her face. I'll show you some close-ups later, obviously. I'm going to show you how I put the decoupage paper on. There was a lot of undulating surfaces, you could say, to go over. And I even did make some mistakes. So you can see how I fixed up my errors. That's George. So stick around, please stick around, because I was so excited about this decoupage paper. I had to do some filming and I am so pleased how it turned out. Absolutely delighted with the result. So stick around and we'll start the process. Here's her original form. She's got lovely detail and a really solid top. However, on the inside, I remembered she doesn't have a bottom or a back, so that's what I'm going to have to do first. I found a bit of timber in my stash, but I have to make sure that the cabinet is square. Then I'll make a couple of cuts and glue and screw it onto the base. Ta-da! Next I'm going to tackle the varnish on the top. I'm using a combination of using a carbide scraper, paint stripper and a machine sander. Lastly, I'll seal it with Annie Sloan's dark wax, and doesn't it look divine? Hey, this is the gorgeous decoupage paper I'm using by Mint by Michelle, called Freckles. Oh, I love this one. She reminds me of my niece. She's so pretty. Anyway, right, I've got the doors off. I've got them down. I've also taken the lock off because I may or may not want the lock on there. Now, some people might say I'm being a little bit ambitious, putting the decoupage paper when there's so many undulating surfaces, but it's not impossible. But first we need to plot a placement. So this is the beautiful paper. Isn't it gorgeous? It will look so much better with a white background. Now it's all of a sudden gotten breezy. But what I need to do is I am going to need to extend the image, which is not going to be too difficult. It's got a very painterly look to it. But what the most important thing is with the placement is to not cut her face off. Now, I don't mind so much up there, but I want her face not to get distorted. The other thing I was thinking, they'll go down like that. They'll go over there, and then that'll go over there. And what I was thinking, keep saying that. What I was thinking is where I put a handle, I could kind of make it like an earring. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this is the handle that I've taken off. So like the handle can go like that. So it looks like she's got a gold dangly earring. With these portrait styles, I like to come down this way. I'm just thinking I might have to do a couple of cuts and put them on separately. I just don't want to lose her eyes. See, what I might do is put this bit on here. I don't mind if the side of her face is in that crevice. I want to capture her. I don't think I'm going to use the lock. I'm going to put some cement in where the lock hole is. So when it's finished, I've got an option. Like, I quite actually don't mind that as a handle. I could even use like a little gold knob as a handle there. This bit, that would look good too. I might cut this bit. Right, I'll be back soon once I've just made a couple of little cuts. Right. If you haven't seen me use this before, this is called Builder's Filler, or Builder's Bog I call it. I get it from Bunnings in Australia. It's probably the cheapest one, but I find it works so well. You can use it on metal, wood, concrete, or fiberglass. It dries super quickly. I wouldn't use wood putty on these deep holes because it would take like all week to dry. This will take like 20 minutes. So the hole goes all the way through. I'm just putting a bit of cardboard underneath, and on another bit of cardboard with my little spatula, I'm going to just, I'm coming to the end of this tin, but I don't need that much. I'm going to, yep, probably don't even need that much. This will stay soft as a soft paste until you add the hardener, and I'm just like, I don't know how much hardener I've got left in here. I know that should be enough. You don't need much. So I think that can get in the bin now. And I just mix it until that all of that blue disperses through evenly. Oh yeah, I have made way too much. I don't normally like to make too much because it just gets wasted otherwise. You can't set it aside for something else. It goes off too quickly. So I'm going to stick it in this hole. And there are screw holes as well. Because I'm not using that lock that I took off. Right, so I've managed to sand this bit flat, so those holes are now filled in and I've given them a good clean. But we're still doing prepping, and what I like to do before I put decoupage paper on is make the surface underneath the paper a pale colour or white, and you can use any kind of paint, but I actually prefer to use Mint by Michelle's Mint Grip Primer. Sometimes I need to put a couple of coats on. It depends what effect I want to see through the paper, because the paper does become a little translucent once it's pasted. This time what I'm going to do is I'm kind of going to put it on in a textured fashion like this, because to me it doesn't have to be perfect under this paper, because the paper's got a really painterly effect, and I don't mind if there's brush strokes or texture underneath. It'll add to the beautiful features in the paper. So basically I'm just going to do this all over, and see, this primer actually covers quite well, and it's really good as a gripper. It's water based, so if you have a piece of furniture that is likely to bleed and you are going to be painting it in a pale colour, I would definitely not use a water based primer. But these water based primers really create a fabulous surface for underneath your mineral paints, and it really helps the paint grip. So I don't need to sand that beforehand. No need to sand. We're just going to add the primer. But I do try not to use this one if I'm going to use dark colours, and I know there is dark colours in this paper, but it's just easier to put this all over than figuring out where my light bits are in the paper. So just going to do that to both the doors, and then I can start cutting up the paper and plotting the placement again. Okay, so I'll be back. Okay, I've got her cut down the side here. We're just going to concentrate on this door first, and then we'll line up the other side. But I just need to make sure that I get her face on perfectly. So what we're going to do is we're going to paste down here. I've got everything ready, so I'll just put something here to... I always like to pop something there so the placement doesn't move. So this is what I like to paste with. It's Mint by Michelle's Shine. Oh, Finish. It's her Finish, but this one's Shine. It does come in a matte, but for this pasting process, it can be either. So that's what I like to paste with. I've got a brush. This is my absolute go-to tool. This will help not only push out excess paste that's under the paper, but it will push out air bubbles. It will push out creases and wrinkles. Get your paper on lovely and smooth. The other thing I like to use is the bag that the paper came out of, and I've cut it in half. So this is great to do the smoothing out, but in conjunction with a bit of plastic, and I like to use this rather than like cling film, because this is like a really strong piece of plastic. It protects the paper, because I do get quite, I wouldn't say I get rough, but I do apply a lot of pressure, and it helps protect the image from this. Even though it's got this lovely felt there, once you add your paste, which is a water-based product, the paper will start to weaken. We're nearly ready to go. So I'm just going to pull it down because I'm going to start at the top. Pull it down a bit. The placement is very important. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. I've got my tool and I've got my plastic. I always make sure everything's ready to go. All right, so we're just going to put a stabilizing piece of paste on now, up here. I'm not using that much, but I'm using enough, because if you don't have enough paste, you will get air bubbles. Okay, so that's good. I've just got that nice and stabilized there. So that bit, so what I'm going to glue down very quickly. It's warm here, so a bit. Right, but now we can get rid of this. We've got the stabilizing section on. Now I can lift this up and, oops, I tore it, but don't panic. You can fix that. Okay, so I'm actually peeling it up a little bit because I don't want to create a gap where I've been before. It's easy to create a pocket of air, so I don't want to create a pocket of air. This is probably the easiest bit, so enjoy this process here. So I've gone for a couple of inches of paste there. I'm just going to give it a bit of a pull to make sure it's in the right direction. There's my, listen, I was so organized. Now is my tool. Right, I'm going to lift it up again. Now I'm using a bit of plastic to protect the paper, and we're literally just pushing it out to the sides. I'm concentrating on getting her face on perfectly. Now you will notice that because these bits here aren't pasted, it's going to want to distort, but when we get back to pasting them, we'll mist them with a bit of water and that will relax the papers. But just for now, we're just going to keep doing this. I can't see how much I'm applying enough. More is better in this situation if you're using this tool, because if there's an excess, it will just get squished out. I'm really focusing on getting those eyes on lovely. And now see, there's a little bit of tension happening on the sides here. So I am going to get my mister. I just mist it a bit. And it's just going to relax that paper a bit so it doesn't pull on here. It'll just relax that paper a bit so we don't get that pulling, the tension. Right, so I'm just going to keep going down like this. I'm only going to mist down the side. I don't need to mist anywhere else at this stage. Okay, I'm going to keep doing this all the way down the front, pulling it up. That is looking great. See? Not a wrinkle or a crease there. So her face has been preserved, which was the main thing. All right. I'm just going to let that dry for a little bit, and then I'm going to start doing the pleating bit here. I'll cut up some end bits, and then we can do each side separately. Talking about cutting some pleats. So I'm just going to, so when I put it on, they're going to overlap a little bit. I could cut a bit out. So they're going to overlap a little bit like that. But that's going to be nice in that corner. And then I'll do one over here. Yep. So that's good. You take a little bit out of, you know. And listen, if you end up taking out too much, don't worry. You can always paint it back in. But I think, oh, look, saying that, I cut too much. But don't worry, I can add some paint. Sure. With this bit here, I am just going to cut a bit off here. Because I don't need that. And I might start with this bottom bit. So I'm just lifting it up because we only went to the top of that. So basically, add, okay, my neighbour's kids, it's night time, but they're in the pool because it's still summer. So I'm getting right into that groove there. And then we're going to come out. Right. So when I push this over, I'm going to use the plastic to push it in around that bend, and then I'm going to come out, so pushing it into that edge, and I'm going to have a bit of a gap there, but least of my worries. Okay, that's good. See how I'm using the tool to go in there, because that's one area you can end up with an air bubble. And with the plastic on, I can make sure it's going around that rounded edge nicely. And when that's dry, I can sand off the excess. Okay, so we'll do that here on this side too. Now, can you see? This is one thing that you need to worry about. See how this is all taut? Because this has been moistened and it's been stretched. This is still dry and it hasn't been stretched. And it will want to tear and distort. But you can fix that by misting it. When you mist the paper, not saturate, just mist it with a bit of water, it relaxes the fibers in the paper. So that will allow, like I said, it will allow the paper to relax and not be so taut like that. So it just makes the application so much easier. So I am going to lift it up, because I'm not quite sure where we glued to. Right, so I'm just going to give that whole strip. And I use this process like if I'm going around corners of a cabinet, just to relax the fibers. I'm just getting that paint right into that crevice there. And just make sure that there's no gaps. And then we'll come out here. Right, so we're going to start wrapping it over and pushing it in. Wrapping it in into that section there. I have created some wrinkles, but I will get them out. Listen, you know what? If there are some creases, I'm not worried. It's going to really suit this piece. And there's only some there. It looks like it's actually part of her hair anyway. So that's all in nicely. And that's gone around that edge nicely. So I'll just come up here. Maybe we can stretch that bit. There's only a tiny section down the bottom here that I need to touch up, but that won't be an issue. It's gone around that edge lovely, so I haven't lost any dimension in her face. And when that's dry, I can sand that bit off. But listen, I don't know any other papers that would go around an edge like that with such ease. That's just beautiful. Super happy with that. I'm just making sure now I haven't created any air bubbles. and that all looks good. So I'm going to do that on the other side as well, and then we'll match up the other side and put the other side on. Around the edges, I am just going to go around with some sandpaper and take off that excess. Nice. So that's a nice smooth edge there. I'm so happy with that. So now we're going to pop the other side on, and I've got them buttered up to each other, and I'm just placing this where I'm thinking her ear should sit, but fortunately on the other side one of the creases ran along here, so I'm just running the same crease along the bottom there, and that's a really great place for her ear. I'm happy to move her this way. Actually, I'll just put her up there. I'm happy to move that away, bring this in to the main frame. So with this one, I'm thinking I'm going to go from here to there, because this placement is more important than that placement. Turn it on its side like this, and I'll probably have to get you to come in the other way, but I'm going to do that placement, and I'm going to go in and out this way, because of all of this is going to be extended with paint, and we're going to have to decide what we're going to do with this bit to make it fabulous. So I just got something sitting here, so I know it's not going to move, and as usual I'm going to just first put some paste, the top coat that I like to use. I'm just going to put some top coat along here, and that'll secure that piece, and then I can start lifting it like that. Right, and I've got my plastic and I've got my tool, so I'm just going to hold this up. Put my glasses on. Alright, so we are going to paste around there. It doesn't matter if the very edge isn't pasted, because we can always come back to that. It's making sure there's enough paste in the crevice. Okay, so yeah, my hand's stuck. So that's nice and flat there, so I'm going to go in like this, but I'm just going to try and get that. It is like, I am a sucker for my punishment, aren't I? I don't pick easy ones, but I do love a challenge. Where are you going now? No, this is the top coat. Well, you can call it blue, but it's the top coat that I'm using. Right, and I am gonna mist it. Glasses on. So when I bring it back over, I'm gonna have it loosely just sitting there. So I'm gonna work from the middle out. I'm going to go into that groove, and I'm going to go straight into that groove. Okay. And so I'm going to do that all the way down. So from that groove to this groove, I'm just doing this bit here. And see how this is all becoming taut, like taut under stress? It's because this bit has been wet, but this bit hasn't been wet yet with the paste or the spray. So it's like it's becoming distorted. So you don't want to try and paste that down, because you will end up with a whole lot of wrinkles. So now that we've pasted up to that section there, we're just going to spray it a bit more. This is not my best sprayer. I don't know what happened to my good one. And that's going to relax the fibres. So when we bring it back over, I can still feel some tautness over there. Yeah. So it will allow, it allows the paper to become a little bit elastic. So you can stretch it over these surfaces. So So this is when I started having issues, and even I was becoming overwhelmed with the creases. And in hindsight, I should have put it on the same way I did the other door. So I let it dry while I went away and had a little tantrum, and then I cut that whole piece off. So now I'm going to put this piece on the same way I started with the other door. Excuse me. Sorry, Georgie. Once I've got the paper on and it's dry, I like to use a spray varnish to seal her, and I always seal her before I do any of the extending of the paint, and just give her a light spray, because I will do this again after. So the paper's on now, and I'm super happy with the placement. Her face is just gorgeous, and I'm actually really pleased that I made some, well, not boo-boos, but you know, I had a bit of issue with the paper. So there is like a kind of a join all the way down there, but I'm going to tidy it up with paint. You can see it's a bit rough down there, and I've got like a crack. It actually looks like a bit of marble over there, but I've got a return the paper. So they're easy, absolutely easy. First, what I want to do is I want to try and match that background, and when you first glimpse at it, it does look like a really dark grey, but I can see green tones in it. So I'm going to do a little play with some colours, because I'm thinking it's a really super dark green here. Super dark green. Obviously we've got some lighter greys and stuff happening down there, but it's mainly this area. I want to put it on in a painterly fashion as it is, and then we're going to add something here, just something subtle, not to distract from her face, just something subtle to tie it all in. But I'm super happy with her face. Hey George. George? Yeah, you. Hello. Okay, I'm going to show you how I start matching the colours here. Right, I'll bring this up to you. Now here, I just dabbed on some pure black, and it's, you can see on against the paper it's too dark. This is a half-half mixture of the black and a dark green that I'd previously made up. So I often just make up dark colours for one thing or another. Can you see that? But for this colour I found, I'm just doing one dot of black and another dot of that dark green, and I'll mix that. So I know that's half and half, 50-50. So it's really hard to see, it all looks black to you. And then I just popped it on here, and that's like a really good colour match. I like that. Can you see that? See, it's quite a good colour. You can see the top one is black, it's too dark, but the mix is a really good match. So this bit, because it's so white, it's going to need a couple of layers. So I'm going to make up some 50-50 mixture in a separate little container so I can add all that, and I can use it to fix these bits in here. Let me bring you down a bit and I'll show you with that mix that I just made. Right, for example, here, it might need a couple of layers, but I'm just dabbing it into there where that bit is torn, but it's covering it really well. Yeah. See? I'm going to have to redo a bit of her ear in some better colours, but so you think it's black, but when you put this on it, it's like the perfect match. Right, so that's what I'm up to. I'm just going to make more of this green mix up, and then I'm going to fill the open spaces in. Then I will bring it into the paper. Right. Okay, before I continue with all the little fiddly bits here and on the other side, I'm going to put a coat of my green mix over here, and then I'll do another coat bringing it onto the paper so it doesn't look like I've just painted here. I've got a little brush because I need to get into all these bits. So, and then I've got a larger brush, and I'm just going to dab up like this. I'm just going to dab up. And I like to dab because it kind of makes a bit of texture as it goes. And I'm just going up to the edge of the paper. This can be really messy, it doesn't have to be neat. It's a really good match. So I'll just do this all the way down. And I'll have to, I don't know, I'll have to add some more of this swirly grey colour in as well, but we'll do that once I've got the whole base on. Now I'm just going to go any which way. So yeah, I'm just going to keep doing this all around and on top of the other one. That dark green is a great colour match. However, this part of the image is a little bit lighter, and I don't want to leave it like this because it just looks like I've got this dark bit stuck at the top. So, easy way to fix that is to just slightly blend a little lighter colour in. So this is that original green that I made up, and I'm just going to do this, bring it down, and with a cloth I'm going to, so it sort of like smudges it in together. And then I'll lift you up and see what you think. I might need to bring you up closer. Good. See? See? Hello. Now I'm just going to fill that in a bit more on that side, but I'm going to sort of like do it like this. So we've got, I want to see some brush strokes. Just like that. And do that all the way down. It's covering it really well. Now, I think that's good. Okay, I'll let that dry, and then we've just got a bit of extending of this bottom bit here to make that integrate. Okay. Now I'm going to use a bit of Impressionist blue by Mint Bombshell. Get some of the blue and just a dash of it's just a dash of black. So I've made a really grey. Just see what that looks like. Like, kind of like that. Like, you know. Swirly with my brush. Dull that down a bit, and then I'll add a bit more green. So to fill in the side, I didn't want to do any more brush strokes, so I thought I'd add a bit more interest with a gold stencil, and I'm using gold gilding wax for this and rubbing it on rather than dabbing it on. Nice. Okay, I'm going to paint the inside now, and I've decided I want a lighter colour, and I did want to use Mint Bombshell's Ballet Flats, however I didn't have enough. So I've mixed a little bit of grey into it. So I've mixed 50-50 with the Sound of Rain. So it's still a really lovely, subtle pink. It's like a real dusky pink. So, but because I'm applying it onto this really dark timber, I am going to prime it first, and these have been my favourite primers for a very long time. Unique Options Petticoat for lights and brights. It's called Silversmith, and it is a light grey colour, and it's really great for getting coverage under your light colours. Then we have Umber Cover, and it's for darks and vibrance. So it is a brown colour, and they are both so silky smooth. They go on so lovely, and they create a beautiful surface for your paint. So I'm going to use the Silver Slipper today under my concocted, where did it go? Half Ballet Flats, half the Sound of Rain. Okay, I just want to show you how smooth and silky it is. Using my Silver Slip, it's so creamy, and like it's just going on so nicely, even over that bit of dark. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just want a base. And the great thing about it, it is self-leveling as well, so you will get a beautiful smooth surface for your paint. So I'm just going to continue that all inside the cabinet, and then I can paint it in my lovely colour. Now I'm coming in with Unique Options Umber Cover Primer, which creates the perfect surface for that dark green mix that I made up.
Now it's time to put the legs on and she'll be almost finished.
Right, now it's time to put the doors on, and because I removed the hinges, these hinges are actually solid brass, which is a good thing, and I could have just used the wire brush to clean them up, but I wanted them to be the same gold as the legs, so I've sprayed them. And if you want to know which spray I've used for this, see this one, it's gold, and I get this from Super Cheap in Australia. It's a big automotive superstore called Super Cheap, and this is one of the most affordable sprays, and they are brilliant. And the reason why I like this one is because when I do gilding wax, it matches, it's the same gold tones. So I've given them a couple of coats of the spray. And oh, the other thing I was going to say, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but when I take the hinges off, I label them. So that's left top and left bottom. Do you like my little, no. That's me every day. I'm just going to turn her over now, and I'm replacing the original screws with some gold Phillips head because they're much easier to replace. The other ones, the old ones, were quite worn. So this is left bottom, left top. No rocket science here. I'm just thinking that's going to be a bit big. I don't need them that big. I'll have to find some more. Right. Okay. I'll get back to you when we're ready to put it on the cabinet. Right, now I'm going to put a handle on, and remember this was the original handle because we had a key lock, and I thought that would still look quite good even without the key lock there. This was actually part of the same set of the previous cabinet, and it's just a little bit simpler, and I thought that would make a really gorgeous looking earring like here. Could put an earring there, drill a hole there, and then have a bit of dangly earring there as the cabinet handle. So what I'm going to do is I need or a pencil. Where's my pencil? What I'm going to do is find that center. Oh my god, that pencil's broken. Don't you hate that? So it's going to be around there. Okay, so that, I think that is the middle. Yep, there, that's the middle. I'm going to drill a hole. Just take one away. Okay. And then this will go in like that. And I've got a little, yeah, see? Yeah, nice. Looks like an earring. And I've got a little knot too on the side. I'll tighten that up in a minute. Pop a little nail in. But look at that! She's got an earring. That's so good.
Wow, this was such a huge transformation, and I really hope you've enjoyed the process. As you've seen, I often have mishaps and need to troubleshoot, but you know what, it all works out in the end, and I hope I've inspired you to have a go yourself. There are links for all the products I've used in the comments, and I would love you to like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching.